Ladies and gentlemen, now in today's video we're going to be breaking down everything that you need to know to 100% explore Variant 4 Waning Moon. So this guide is going to go on the assumption that you've already done the initial completion and are familiar with all of the boss fights, because in this video we're not really going to be talking about the bosses, it's all about the paths, the problems, the requirements, and also the solution to a lot of that stuff as well. So this variant, if you haven't done 100% in any other ones, is probably the easiest one to do 100% in, although it does have a very strict champion, almost requirement in the very final 1-star quest of having a 1-star version of Hulk. There are some other solutions as well, but if you don't have a 1-star Hulk, you might run into a few problems, just as a bit of a heads up. But again, there are a lot of different stuff. However, at least in my opinion, when it does come to this variant, the easiest way, if you've got all the required champions, and again, we're going to break it down chapter by chapter, is probably chapter 2 100%. By far the easiest one, and then chapter 3 and then chapter 1. Those two a little bit debatable, because if you don't have the 1-star Hulk and have a really good 5 and 6-star roster, maybe chapter 1's going to be a little bit easier, but chapter 2 is just difficulty wise, man, by far the easiest. So it's a really good place to start. So moving into the Wolverine 4-star quest to start off, so you can only bring in 4-star champions. But what I love about this one is there's no fight that's really like that difficult, that most low demigod tier champions can't deal with it. So any champion that is like semi-decent, man, can get through some of the hardest fights. And really probably one of the most challenging fights here, and it really isn't like that bad, is Cornered Iron Man Infinity War with power efficiency. So special attacks cost 50% less power. He's going to spam them a fair bit, but everything on this path like is quite straightforward, especially the Captain America, the Carnage, Symbiote Spider-Man, a little bit annoying there as well. If we go over to the right hand side, we've got a Matador power shield node, so just bring somebody that has a lot of damage on their special attacks, and that one is just really straightforward. There's also Masochism with Bishop, Emma Frost, and Medusa, but honestly, it isn't really that bad to deal with at all. If you've got like Uncollected, you're used to fighting those nodes, this is going to be an absolute walk in the park. So yeah, honestly, no worries at all there, and also Aggression Regeneration in the middle, and the armor path toward the left-hand side. So the 4-star chapter is really all about your ability to play. There's no like super strict requirements, even for like the hardest Iron Man, like arguably. I just used like OG Thor in my run, and he just got him down so easily with like 1 special 3. So yeah, all sorts of champions can deal with a 4-star chapter. There's nothing like super special in that one. And then we've got the 3-star chapter next, and there are a couple of like slightly annoying paths where you do need to bring some sort of counter, ideally. Again, there are ways to get around it, but the first one is the evade path to the left hand side. So you got Spry, but this one doesn't have the gas node, so even if they do evade, you just get like a minus crit debuff on you. But you can just use really any champion and like parry 3 combo if you want on the far left hand side. But if you bring in an evade counter, you know, gonna make it a little bit easier. I would say the only path you really need to maybe consider like ranking somebody up for, and ideally like She-Hulk, a 3-star version is really good for this, is the poison path here. So this is kind of like the slow burning poison node, so every 7 seconds your champion gets inflicted with poison. But also on this path as well, you've got Mr. Sinister, you've got Diablo, you've got Annihilus, and also Mysterio. So 4 champions, they're a little bit annoying to fight, and She-Hulk is just a really good counter to Diablo, Sinister, and Annihilus as well. And Mysterio, She-Hulk's like not that great for, but she can work for, so she's a really good option to bring up. But in all fairness, as long as you can play really well, like most poison immune champions can deal with all 4 of those like really annoying fights. It's mainly, to be honest, the Sinister, Annihilus, and Mysterio that are the problem there, but that is a very short path. Also in the middle, you've got Cornered and also Enhanced Special 2, so really just like any champion that doesn't have a damage over time debuff for this one, just kind of pack your team full of them. You also do need a bleed immune champion, ideally for Morningstar, or a Blade works really well there. And finally you got Darkhawk. He can be a little bit annoying, but I think we use Kamala Khan for a Mega Red and Darkhawk. So again, you can just use like any champion you want here. Like the health pools aren't so ridiculous that you need to rank up the god tier, beyond god tier champions if you took up like a mid tier champion in the past. fast and can play well, again, it probably is going to work there. You also have an Aggression Fury path here. So you got Man-Thing, a little bit annoying. Again, She-Hulk is extra valuable because she is a poison immune champion, a very good counter to Man-Thing there. Can also work out really well for the Gladiator Hulk and also Hyperion. And then finally you got Nick Fury. He's probably one of the more annoying fights overall here, because Aggression Fury, again, it can make the damage a little bit crazy, and Nick Fury, when he, fires off his special wand, goes unblockable in that final phase. You could potentially take a little bit of damage there, but aside from that, again, those two chapters, if you know how to play, man, if you've done the completion, are just going to be really straightforward and really easy for you. Now, moving into Chapter 3, before we cycle back to Chapter 1, because if you have 1-star Hulk, this is probably the second easiest one to get done. So if you're on a budget, man, 2 champions to 100% this, Rocket Raccoon and Colossus. Those are the 2 champions I'm maxing out on my free-to-play. But that is because left-hand side, you've essentially got 2 bleed paths. You've got a Caltrops path there and also a straight-up bleed path. Nobody is like super insane or annoying to fight. Like, Thing is a little bit annoying, but again, it's just Thing, so it's not really too much to worry about if you're used to kind of fighting him and managing the rock stacks there. Also, there's an additional path that has the flare node, so there are some like really annoying fights on this. However, you have 300% additional attack, and your 2-star champions are really cheap to heal up potion wise as well, so just get topped up, man. You can just chuck like anybody in. They're going to be dealing some crazy damage, but you do have Havoc, Void, and also Darkhawk, so a little bit more annoying, but stuff dies very, very quickly. Also the life transfer path, that's the easiest one for completion there. Far right hand side, you've got Chaos, which is a bit annoying, but again, not super bad there. Then that brings us to the problem path in the 2-star chapter, which honestly isn't too bad, but it's a bit menacing if you don't come in prepared. So the opponent can only take damage from critical hits, and also the crit chance is reduced by 50% for each buff on you or debuff active on your opponent. So essentially, if you have a champion with buffs or debuffs that are just being applied, then you're not going to be able to crit and thus not deal any damage at all. So Rocket Raccoon is kind of the MVP budget option for this, but also if you've been playing the game a while and have the 2-star version of Wasp from the event last year, Gwenpool Goes to the Movies, guaranteed crits are absolutely perfect for this, but Rocket Raccoon and Wasp, I would say, are the 2 best options. Electra, I've heard, is working pretty well. Also just really like any basic champion that doesn't have like any buffs or any debuffs you can get through. Like I tried Domino, people have done Storm as well, but those are a lot longer. So ideally, man, 2-star Rocket Raccoon and a little bit of ambition is all you need for these 4 fights, and it's only 4 fights, and Dormammu is kind of by far the worst one, I would say. And also what you want to do, again, because you're not going to be able to crit when the opponent is stunned, is you want to parry and then wait till the stun is just expiring and then go in for your combo. So, that's the way to do it, man. But Rocket just worked an absolute treat for me on my main account when it came to 100% there. So really, that is the only problem path in the 2-star chapter, so it's quite straightforward for the most part, like a really, really nice time. And then we have the final 1-star chapter, which all the paths are actually quite straightforward and easy, aside from one, and also one fight that you need to do 3 times. So if we have a look at the bottom of this quest, we've got like 2 stun vulnerability paths. Like these ones they're cake, man. They are so easy. Also you got a dash vulnerability path with strike back, very, very easy. Even the Iceman, like barely deals about 50% of your health as damage to you. So all you need to do is use like 1 level 1 health potion, because again, it's just 1-star champions, man. So just make sure you're topped up for Iceman there. Then next up, you have a dash vulnerability and breakthrough path. So this one is really easy. However, it does lead into a problem fight that you need to fight 3 times. So we'll talk about that in a second, man, but that one is not too fun. So the last 2 paths, and to get the left hand side, kind of the top one over with, is bleed vulnerability and biohazard. So somebody was saying in my live stream chat, use Wolverine and Black Panther. I was like, dude, you're just gonna die too quickly from the biohazard. But then I used them, man, and the bleed vulnerability is just so powerful that if you get the The right RNG, most opponents on this path are literally dead in about 10 to 15 hits. So this can be done like quite viably with Black Panther and Wolverine. You might need to use a few level 1 health potions, but again, it's only healing up 1-star characters. So that one is actually like really quick and easy if you bring in bleed champions. But if not, like either version of Vision works out very nicely as well. And then we have the big problem path. So we've got bleed vulnerability and also caustic temper. So basically, you're going to be spammed with poison, 50% chance when hitting the opponent to get poisoned, and if you don't have an active fury buff, the defender takes 90% less damage. So really the only like good and viable option for this path is a 1-star version of Hulk. Failing that, if you have the skill, the next best option is Vision or the other version of Vision, like either one will do. However, it's a really long fight because you have like that 90% damage reduction as well, so that sucks, man. It's really not a good time. You can also like use bleed champions, but you need to use a lot of revives as well, so that's where it becomes like additionally annoying. And kind of that node paired with Magic and also Mordo as well, because it's on this Mordo node, man, and you got to fight this Mordo 3 times. It becomes like a massive drag to do this overall if you don't have a 1-star version of Hulk. So yeah, he's just the absolute MVP here, or else it kind of turns you know, every Mordo and that entire path into like a mini version of Labyrinth of Legends with Vision. So, you know, there are ways to get around that. Also, Gamora has the Fury and maybe bleed off the special one if you get lucky. So if you're lucky enough to stay alive for long enough with Gamora, you can get some nice burst damage in there. But yeah, it's really annoying, man. There aren't many solutions to that at all. So they do need to make 1-star champions available. And the point of recording this video, the only way you can get additional 1-star champions if you're not a brand new player is to go to the Mist tab and gamble on these wonderful hero crystals, which have a 20% chance at a 1-star champion. But again, 1-star champions, they might be available in the future via all sorts of events, so you know, you might have to hold off, you might have to be a bit patient, or you might have to spend a lot of money on those terrible crystals. But after you've done chapter 300%, then it's on to chapter 1. So chapter 1 has you know, some slightly annoying fights. It's certainly not the worst. I think one of the very annoying things is you got to fight Electro a lot, you got to fight Deadpool a lot, and those fights, you know, can be a little bit troublesome depending on your roster. But assuming you went for Strike Back for your first completion, the 2 additional paths you have are All or Nothing, and also the Rage and Breakthrough path. So for All or Nothing, you've got Iron Patriot, Magneto, Mordo, and Cable, so it's quite a short path. You've only got 4 fights before you reach the boss, but in terms of solutions, you just want a really good power control champion. So Doctor Doom, Symbiote Supreme, Magic, Black Widow, Clairvoyant, Ghost if you have the full Trinity, and also Hood can work quite well for a lot of the fights, but Magneto is going to be troublesome to Doctor Doom and also Ghost because they are metal. Also Stark and Aunt Spider-Man for his taunt can work out quite nicely. She-Hulk for her taunt. Also Quake, if you're a Quake MVP man, can just boss through all of these fights. And finally Dr. Voodoo. But also there's probably like a few more power control champions that can get these fights done, but let me know in the comment section below if you have any additional options that we haven't mentioned, because again, we're bound to leave out, you know, a few champions here and there. And also on Rage, really like so many different champions work. This is quite a straightforward node for the most part, but in order to keep Rage under control, you ideally just want a strong nullified champion just so you can continually remove that Fury, but you've only got 3 Rage fights, so you have the Corvus, the Ebony Maw, and the Captain Marvel as well. So yeah, just really straightforward, man, when it comes to 100% in that first one, providing you've done the initial completion and are fairly confident with those matchups. So if you got the right champions, man, you're going to be absolutely laughing there. And then moving on to what is it? Quest number 2 in chapter 1. There are some slightly more annoying fights. I think probably the easiest, like, second path to do, assuming you went far left for your first one, is probably the Mighty Charge and also Aggressive. So this one, a little bit annoying. You will take a little bit of block damage here and there, but if you just bait out heavy special attacks, really straightforward to deal with. So no super problem fights there. The Sentinel, the Taskmaster might be a little bit of a pain, but nothing that is you know, just really, really frustrating. However, moving on to the final two paths, we have some, you know, more annoying fights. So we've got an Aspect of Evolution, improved power gain path. So Aspect of Evolution, a bit annoying, and also every single defender on this path has some sort of passive power gain, and that passive power gain only is the power gain that's doubled. So you got a Doctor Strange, you got a Havoc, you got a Symbiote Supreme, also a Mephisto, and a Vision Arcus. So ideally, some champions that are really good for this, like Dr. Octopus did so much work for me, man. He was an absolute beast for this path. Just any scenario where there's like a lot of power gain, he is just the king of shutting it down, man. Works out really, really well. Also, Doctor Doom for a lot of the fights is a very, very effective option. Symbiote Supreme, Magic, Doctor Voodoo for Havoc and Vision. Void can work quite well for all of the Mystic matchups. Luke Cage for Symbiote Supreme, Havoc and Doctor Strange, if you like beast mode it, like might work out quite nicely there. Captain America Infinity War I use personally for the Mephisto. Vision can work quite nicely if you have the 5 or maybe 6-star version of the OG one. So yeah, there are so many different options, but at the end of the day, it's just a power gain path, so you can just units your way through it if you don't have like ideal counters to these various matchups. But it's a little bit of a pain, but not really too bad, that path, once you get proper stuck into it. And then we move on to the final path, which is a bit of a test of skill. So looking at some of the most annoying fights, it's really Annihilus and Killmonger, maybe Blade as well, that can be really troublesome for a lot of people on this path. So you've essentially got stun immunity and also destructive feedback as well. So none of these opponents can be stunned, and the way destructive feedback works is like at the start of the fight for 10 seconds, the opponent gains this yellow shield, and any damage you deal to them is going to be stored, and if they hit you while they have that yellow shield active, then you take all of the damage. So you need to make sure you don't get hit while destructive feedback is active, even like blocking or parrying, because you'll get absolutely ruined. So you need to be very, very careful of that note. So it's all about kind of playing around destructive feedback, making sure whatever you do not get hit while that is active in any way, shape, or form. And aside from that, it's just the stun immunity matchup. So again, it's going to be annoying versus Killmonger, Annihilus, and Blade as well. And you need to be very careful, especially with Blade's projectiles, because even if projectiles make contact while destructive feedback is active, like all that damage you've dealt to the opponent during the time is going to be reflected onto you. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a pain. But any traditional matchup that generally works quite well is going to dominate a lot of these opponents, such as, you know, like Symbiote Supreme, Doctor Doom for Annihilus. All sorts of champions you can use for Killmonger, but I'd say overall, if you have a 5-star version of Ghost, she is just absolutely crazy for this path, and really good for like destructive feedback in general, just the perfect counter, and also one of the most perfect counters to the final Deadpool boss as well. So if you've got Ghost, use her. If not, like pretty much any champion can work for this path. You just need to be like really aware of destructive feedback and know how to play around certain champions like Annihilus and Killmonger. But once you got that done, mate, that's 100% in the bag. You're sorted, you're done, you're dusted. You get all of the rewards, the rank 5 gem, the 5-star crystal, the 5-star awakening gem, like all the crazy stuff. So, you know, variant 4, there are challenges here and there, but overall I think it's just so much easier than a lot of the other variants to 100%, providing you have the right champions. And I really do feel for players that you know, don't have access to a 1-star version of Hulk. Maybe you just didn't get him when you started playing the game, or maybe you sold him in 2015. Kabam need to find a better solution to make that 1-star champion more available to the masses. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you did enjoy the 100% guide today, and if you did, please do smash that like button. That'd be greatly appreciated. Aside from that, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.